Wow, it's a lot of people, eh? Okay, this is really surreal standing up here when I got tapped on the shoulder to present at New Zealand's first and biggest real estate conference. I was planning an amazing presentation. I was planning a speech. I was planning to sit in front of the mirror and rehearse it 10 times. Then I remembered I'm a real estate agent, and I had 4 deals fall on Monday and 4 go unconditional this week. So that has been all my priority. So I thought, I'll do something that'll actually be meaningful and put the real in real estate and tell you how it is. Hopefully, you see some value in what I've done. I'll just explain a bit about my story, how I got to where I am, and yeah. This is what I'm going to be talking about today. Who I am, my background, where I've come from, and how success in my previous role have helped me find success in real estate. Before I was in real estate, I specialized in psychology and mental health for young people. And the way I did that was sitting down with kids in South Auckland schools, specializing in mental health, addictions, drug use, self-harm, and suicidality, and I loved helping people. When I was 5 years old, my dad passed away, and shout out to all the single mothers out there. I think that's the one job harder than being a real estate agent. So I've got a lot of respect for single mothers, and I wanted to give back to the community and help people. That led me into my career in real estate. 2023 was my first full financial year, and as David tapped on it, I got Rising Star for the year, which is really cool. I also got the award for Ray White. But after all of this, all I could think about is helping people. If I could sit down with a young person, spend 10 minutes building rapport with them, getting them to trust me with their deepest, darkest secrets, whether that be their upbringing, their trauma, I could definitely help other people in other ways. Now, what actually got me into real estate? Back in 2021, I went on a TV show. Sometimes opportunities go door knocking, other times they find you. And I auditioned for The Apprentice New Zealand. I always had a passion for business, and I wanted to play a quick clip about how I got there. How do you play that? Can you play that? Can't play it? Oh, okay. That's... yeah. So yeah, I'll go straight into it. And the crossover was, yeah. Okay, this is what I really wanted to get into, the core skills to help me with it. I've realized very early on in my career that I was a listing agent. I had the biggest focus on getting clients to trust me with their biggest asset. And how I did that was sitting with them for about 10 minutes, and I built this funnel. This is the appraisal funnel. On the left there, it talks about the time output, how much you spend on it. I'd say 10% of the time is spent building trust and rapport with your clients. If I go into their garage and I see a very nice car, I'm going to compliment that car. That's something that's important to them. If I see pictures of their kids on the walls and see school uniforms, if I can relate to that school, whether it's a school that I know someone who went to, I'd discuss that. The first 10 minutes should be just getting them to trust you. As Eugene touched on it, if they trust you, you've got the business. My biggest focus has always been creating, bridging gaps, building rapport with people, and just finding common as much as you possibly can. Now, the middle of the funnel is qualifying and identifying need. Real estate agents, psychologists, we're problem solvers. If there is no problem to solve, we will never get the business. And that's something that I've had very, very close to me. If I haven't identified a problem by the end of the appraisal, I'm not getting that listing. And I've been blessed enough to door knock a property, sit in their house, appraise it on the spot, and list the property in one sitting because of this funnel. Now, what takes 70% of the time, in my opinion, is the least important thing. Your AML, your processes, your marketing costs. So many agents go into these appraisals already gearing up for objections around marketing, objections around cutting commission, objections about not being the suburb expert and still wanting to win the business. If you did the first 2 parts of the funnel correctly, none of that matters. You will get full fees, no matter how many properties you sold in the area. You will get marketing paid for because they trust you. It's a collaborative approach between vendor and agent, and it's up to you to bridge that gap. This is the key to my business. I was drilling down on my appraisal to listing rate, and we're about 80 to 90%. So out of every 10 homes I get into, if I'm in their house, sitting in their dining room table, I will get their business due to this. And this touches on what everyone so far has said today. This process here of effective questioning, asking the right questions. An example of that is, are the decision makers in the room today? Not everyone who's a decision maker may necessarily be on the title. Is your sister important to you? Is your niece important to you? Is your granddad important to you? I want all of you in the room today because it's a collaborative approach and I want to make this decision as a family. I want to make it as easy as possible for everyone involved. That's the who. The why is the motivation. In a market that we are in at the moment, I started my journey in real estate in October 2021, so I'm almost 3 years in. I listed my first property in November 2021, and I thought I was God's gift to the industry, because I was like, how is it this easy? Sold it 3 weeks later at auction in November 2021, sent a letter out and got 2 listings off that letter. So I thought it was very, very straightforward, but I found out then it was asking the right questions, and that market was quite buoyant in bringing you there. All the conversations I was having with clients at the time were hope-based. Congratulations, you're making 300K. Your CV's $1 million, we're selling for 1.3. Congratulations, you bought this 2 years ago and you've already made 500K on it. It's exciting. It was hope-based. It was optimistic. Every property we listed back then had 8 to 10 buyers lined up. Now it's a full 180. Every buyer who comes through is looking at 8 to 10 properties. So it's a lot more difficult, and the conversations I'm having now are sometimes not as hope-based. A lot more mortgagee sales, a lot more divorcee sales, banks knocking on the door, can't put food on the table for the kids. And this is where effective problem solving comes into play more than anything. Gather the information you need at the time of appraisal. That will make your whole campaign so much easier. If you don't ask the right questions, you're going to spend up to 60 to 90 days working open homes, bringing buyers, presenting buyers who are ready to purchase to a vendor who's not ready to sell. So this appraisal process is arguably the most important part of real estate. Clarify ambiguities. Just as I'll sit down with a client in mental health and talk about what that trauma is, how that has kind of affected them in their current life, I'm going to go through any ambiguities in the listing process. What's important to the client as an agent? What are they looking for? What's their priority? Is it days on market? Is their motivation external pressures? Are they heading overseas? Drill down on it and clarify all ambiguities and identify that client's need. Be solution focused. Remember, this is a mutually beneficial situation. They want to sell their property and you want to help them in the next chapter and get paid. Therefore, always look at it as a value proposition on both ends. Don't beg for the business. We call it commission breath. If you're just focused on the deal, the money will run the other way. Focus on how you can help these clients. I was having a look at my Rate My Agent testimonials, and there was 2 words that kept coming up through, I guess, the testimonials, and that was empathy and communication. And that's how I've built my business, with the same core skills that I had problem-solving young people through drug addiction, self-harm, and suicidality. I'm now helping people sell their properties. With these core skills, it really helps, as Eugene was saying actually, build trust, get them to work with you, and carry on with the biggest decision of life. Now, this is a bit of an interesting one. Obviously, us real estate agents posting soul stickers constantly. The one thing that this slide shows me, that every single one of these pictures has a story behind it. It's the client I worked with, it's the buyer that bought their first home, it's the seller that were able to transact to carry on with life, and that is so special to me. If any of you ever have the opportunity to sit down with me over a drink, I will happily share some of these stories. I've had offers fall, unconsented work, no CCC, auctions with multiple bidders and still the reserve price that wasn't met. Everything. Our industry is so dynamic. But all of these here, each piece and each sprint to the finish line is part of your bigger picture, part of your bigger career. Now, this is more for real estate agents, and if I can instill anything in you guys, just based on how turbulent the market has been, set goals. When I'm sitting with clients trying to make a plan about how they can better their life, how they can get to the next chapter, if they want to stop their negative habits, instill positive habits, goals are very important, but not just any goals. Make sure they're SMART goals. Make sure it's specific. Write it down. Be clear about what you're looking to get. I want to list 10 new properties in the next quarter. There's no gray area there. It's a specific goal. Make sure it's measurable. If you're not tracking it, how do you know you're in the right direction? A goal without a plan is just a dream, and it's good to dream, but dreams versus goals are very different. Make sure it's attainable. Don't set extremely high expectations of yourself, because you're basically setting yourself up to fail. Work your way up to a level to get to where you want to be. Obviously, make sure it's relevant. Each of these goals may be part of a bigger goal, whether it be future business ownership, growing a team, scaling a team. Make sure it's relevant to what you're trying to get out of it. And more than anything, make sure it's time-based. Track it, make sure it's time-based, make sure it's trackable, whether it be a weekly check-in, a monthly check-in, and a yearly check-in. It's very important to make sure you're staying on the straight and narrow. Now, the next slide is something that's very, I guess, close to my heart, and I really wanted to share it with you guys today as real estate agents. A little bit of imposter syndrome. So, finding success in real estate, it's thrilling, it's exciting, and success breeds success. But I also do understand in the market that we're in at the moment, own biggest supporter, but also your own worst enemy. The expectations you set of yourself can drive you to do more, but also can drive you to turn inwards and think that you're not enough. So these are a few quick tips that I always like to instill in myself. Acknowledge your feelings. Take ownership of it. Just because you're not where you wanted to be, you haven't made your GCI target for the month, or you haven't listed as many houses in your farm area, don't let that put you off the greater goal. Practice self-compassion. Celebrate the little wins. Instead of an unconditional, instead of a settlement, maybe focus on a price drop. Maybe focus on a method of sale change, an investment of more marketing. Focus on the little wins. Focus on your previous achievements. A bad day doesn't make it a bad career. That's something that I'm telling myself pretty often. And seek support for those around you. Have good people you can trust. Auctioneers, David Palfreyman, business owners, co-workers, everyone around you. Success breeds success. Surround yourself with people who want you to do better, and therefore you share the load a lot more. Challenge those negative thought processes, those niggling feelings that you're not doing enough, you're not putting in enough hours, and don't focus on others. I think the beautiful thing about real estate is I'm anti-gatekeeping. If you ever wanted to chat, call me about processes of how I prospect, how I list, how I appraisal, I will share any of that with you, because there's plenty of houses to go around, and at the end of the day, as long as you remember why you're in this industry to genuinely help people to make a difference, you will do well. The money will come. And work on cultivating a growth mindset. In my first year, my first financial year, my goal was to get REINZ Rising Star of the Year. Touch wood, I got there. My second year was to get Ray White Elite, representing the top 3% internationally. I got there. This is now my third financial year. We're a few months in. And I was sitting down and I was trying to figure out what the goal is for this year. It's not really about recognition anymore, not about, I guess, money anymore. It's now about scaling a sustainable business, making sure I've got time for my loved ones. I've been working 7 days a week, I love that, but making sure I've got time, making sure I've got balance, and just, I guess, setting myself up for long-term in this industry. I had a purposely pretty short speech because I knew I was before morning tea, and I knew you guys wanted to get some morning tea, but I wanted to open up if anyone had any questions about the process. I guess coming from my background, I'm not the normal kind of real estate agent that most people see. I mean, we've got police officers, we've got teachers, we've got everyone, but I've come from a very specific background. So if anyone had any questions, I'd love to open up the floor. None?
Hot mic? Your opportunity to ask a question. I've got one for you just because I've seen you do this.
Yeah.
Like, what would be, just to give you an idea, and I don't want to misquote you here, I remember, I think it was a Real Estate of Origin, how many hours did you call and how many appraisals did you generate?
The record one?
The record.
So it was 5 hours of non-stop calling, and I think we generated 84 appraisals that day.
Hang on a second. Just like, I think the numbers should sink in. I've watched, I've sat there, I've listened. These are not preloaded. These are not, you know, there's no fudging it. He's literally setting up an appointment. Now, I do say an appointment because I think a key thing I've observed, and you heard it here, is he really does try to connect with people and see what the problem is, but he can find an opening, he'll get it.
Yeah.
So can you give me some dialogue? I'm on the other end of the phone, you're calling me, let's frame it. Where did the number come from, or what's the context for the number, and how does that call go? You're calling me now.
Perfect.
Tell them the number. Why are you calling me? How did you get my number?
Hey David, how are you?
Hello.
Hey David, this is Gabriel Elkhishin here from Ray White. How are you?
Going good, mate?
That's good to hear. Sorry to bother you on a very busy day. I was just touching base because it's been months since we've caught up, and we've had a very dynamic market. You're seeing the interest rate drops. Have you had a recent appraisal on your house?
It's been a little while actually, yeah.
And even if you're not really thinking of selling, I'd love to pop in and catch up and make a plan around it. You can see what your house is worth in the current market, and if it works for you, we can discuss further. Are you free today at 3?
I appreciate it, mate. No, look, we're not really doing anything at the moment, but yeah, no, thanks for thinking of us.
No, and that's absolutely fine. What I want to do...
By the way, I'm struggling to remember that he called me. Do you do this with everyone?
Yeah. Oh, well, it just depends. What I wanted to do is, even if you're not thinking of selling right now, I'd love to make a plan with you. I know your house is in my core farm area, and I do a lot of work there. So I was wondering if I could touch base with you maybe at the end of next month. I'll let you know what I've sold and what's currently on the market. And even if you're still not thinking of selling, it's always good to know what's happening around you. Does that sound good?
Sure, no problems.
Perfect. So I'll book it in for the last Friday of next month, and I'll touch base then.
Okay, sounds good.
Looking forward to it. See you then. Bye.
Did you just close me on an appointment?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to call you on the day and be like, hey, you free tonight?
Okay, I love it. Team, questions. Here we go.
Yeah,
Lawrence.
Gabriel,
Hey,
Lawrence
Lawrence.
here. Yeah. One question for yourself is what was the toughest part in your past 2 years? Like what are your challenges through your real estate career at the moment?
I'll be honest, my biggest challenge in my real estate career is team building. I love the listing and the selling side. I love the sprints to the finish. I love the problem solving. I love genuinely making differences in clients' lives. But the hardest thing for me is building a team and building that support around you. It's a lonely business. Real estate is a very lonely business. And I touched on it before, as in, when it's good, you're your own biggest supporter. And when it's tough, you're your own biggest critic. And I've had many discussions to how I can scale and grow my business to make it more sustainable. And the biggest thing for me is finding a group of people who trust me and would love to work with me so I can grow a long-term business. Thanks, Lawrence.
No, thank you. I see another hand here. I'm just going to say one thing, and I feel this is not just advice for you, Gabe. I think it's for many, is that the biggest challenge is you have to learn to delegate, but the big part of that is you have to learn how to let go.
Yeah, let go to grow. I keep telling myself that. It can't be everywhere at once.
We had the hand over here. Have we got a mic runner? Pardon me? There it is. Thank you.
Hi, myself, Pooja Patel. Thank you so much. My question is, I'm not from New Zealand, so I don't have any connections. And I was talking to my dad. I'm from non-background real estate, so I'm from medical background, so I have no connections. So he thought that it's not a good decision. So I was like, okay, I'll just go to this conference, see how it goes. So basically, he is very worried about me becoming in this business as a successful person as others, but how to connect with people, because he thinks that women see connection as different as men. Mm-hmm. So he was like, how are you gonna make, what does it say? Basically, being practical and being emotional, because women are typically more emotional, and I am. So what you has to say on how to become a practical more and see a connection as a problem solver rather than just as a friend or just like some person to be around with, you know?
Definitely.
For me, the connection is just that. I never seen the connection as a business. So what's your insight on that?
If I've understood correctly, how to move from just connecting emotionally to actually practically problem solving.
Yeah, and that's a great question, because that's something that really comes with the more time and the more effort you spend doing it. The biggest thing is be genuine and be authentic. If the client feels that you're in their corner backing them, they will trust you 110%. When I first started, honestly, a bit of it's faking it till you make it. Don't be afraid to say you don't know something. Don't be afraid to say, look, I can't give you that answer right now. Can I call and find out for you? If you can build this relationship and build trust and make sure both parties are on the same page, it's a journey together. And as you keep doing it, the more people you talk to, the more relationships you build, you kind of a toolkit or a kit of skills. And you'll use those skills when another objection comes up, you know exactly how to handle it. So the more you talk about, the more you practice, the more you rehearse. You can call me, you can call any of the other agents you work with and just practice objection handling. What should I do if they've, I guess, don't want to pay marketing? What should I do if I'm going up to 5 other agents? What should I do if, you know, they explicitly said they would prefer to work with someone from a specific demographic? It happens sometimes. Being based in the South Auckland area myself, one of the reasons I like it is the people are super lovely. They look past skin color and gender and creed. Yeah, it's never happened for me, to be honest. And that's the beauty of it all. If you get down to the human connection, everything else is not as important. So I guess focus on building a meaningful connection with that person, focus on being genuine, and you can't go wrong. Yeah, anytime.